Hello, my name is Dr. Olivia Moses and welcome to my channel. Today we have a very special guest. Her name is Heidi. She is a labor and delivery nurse and she's been a nurse for 20 years and right now she does education for new parents. But Heidi has recently received a diagnosis and a lot of times we can look at this as a very scary diagnosis. So Heidi, can you tell us a little bit about what's happening?
Sure. In May of last year, I was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer, which came as a complete shock to us because we have no family history and I meet none of the risk factors. So it was an absolute shock to hear that. It started the ball rolling. I had to go through 6 weeks of chemo and radiation, and then followed by a surgery, and then followed by some more chemotherapy, which I only got 6 out of 12 treatments for because in January of this year, I suffered a saddle pulmonary embolus, which doctors said I shouldn't have even survived. I collapsed in the parking lot and was brought to the emergency room and made it through. 5 days later, I ended up having a cerebral hemorrhage and a seizure and got discharged home again some days later, and then 10 days later had to go back to the emergency room for a DVT, which is a clot in my leg that extends from my calf to my pelvis.
Needless to say, you are really in active fight mode right now.
Absolutely.
What advice would you give to people who are going through a very difficult time? How do you get through those dark times? And I'm sure there's been many.
Oh, definitely. I try as hard as I can to spend time with Jesus. Try to walk with him, not get ahead of the journey, not fall behind too much. And sometimes I feel like I want to know the end. You know, how is this going to end? And I feel like he's just saying, wait, just walk with me and we'll get through this together.
What advice would you have someone who might have had a recent diagnosis of something quite scary like what you're going through?
To spend as much time with Jesus and to surrender our pens and allow him to write our stories.
With that being said, let's say someone is not on the same spiritual journey that you are on. What advice would you give that person that might not have that connection?
To try to stay as positive as possible. I think if we can find the good in the bad, then it changes our perspective and it makes it easier to get through the bad times.
I am sure that through this process, you've thought a lot about life and it has taught you a lot about maybe life and how to live it. What lessons about life have you learned through this process?
I have learned to try to stay as positive, to dance through the storm of life and just surrender as much as I can. I don't ever want people to think that I don't struggle because I have some very hard days. But if I can try to stay as positive as possible, that's probably the biggest lesson that I've learned through this.
Now, when we look at maybe our own lives, some of the people watching who are actually healthy, what advice would you have for them?
To become part of somebody else's story, to actively look for someone who is struggling. I feel like our church has completely surrounded us. I've got a community of support through friends and family and my church, and they have made having cancer very easy.
Now, we might have someone watching this and say, look at her, she's smiling. It just doesn't look like this is phasing her at all. What would you want to tell them about you? What do you want them to know about you when they're just seeing this like beautiful woman who's smiling through this storm?
That it's not every day that I'm smiling. And it takes for me, I have to have time with God every day to be able to get back into that place where I'm able to walk with him so that I can stay positive. Because it's a lot easier to stay positive with him.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is beautiful, Heidi. And with that, I want to just wish you all of the best, and we are praying for you and thinking about you through this fight stage that you're in, that you will find strength from everyone and everybody that you meet will hopefully provide you with even more strength. And we want to send blessings to your family as well. And thank you so much for donating your time here today with us.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, thank you all for watching as well. And I want to share with you, Heidi has a blog, and it is kinderfarmhomeschool.com. That's kinderfarmhomeschool.com, and I will put a link down below in the description box for this video. My name is Dr. Olivia Moses, and thank you for joining me.